Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for a special live stream today, breaking down all of the news that came out in Nvidia's earnings report today. To go through all the details and tell us about this hit or miss is MarketBeat analyst Thomas Hughes. Thomas, a lot to go over in this earnings report today.
Oh yeah, it's a big report and there's lots of really good details. I haven't found one yet that I think is bad. All pretty much aligns with the trends of strong performance, outperformance, and good guidance.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the specifics. Let's talk about earnings this year or this quarter compared to last quarter. How did they do?
Well, to start with revenue was forecast to grow by about 53%. Those estimates had been rising, so really expecting more than 53%, and what we got was 56%. That's pretty hot. On top of that, margins were pretty strong. Gross margin contracted a little bit, but it looks like earnings are up 108 $1.08, 61% on a GAAP basis and 55% on a non-GAAP basis. Also very strong. Um, Looking at segments, compute was strong at 56%. Graphics also strong at 51%. So both sides of the business. Um, Within that, data center was also strong at 56% growth. And within that, networking, which is the connecting of the data centers together, was up 98%. Talking about Blackwell, which is the hot AI chip right now. The sales of Blackwell grew 17% sequentially. That's from quarter to quarter. That's a very robust growth. Ties right into what we're hearing from Wedbush about the supply demand imbalance, which is really skewed favorably in Nvidia's demand. Should be driving strong results well into the future.
Yeah, there's a lot to go into in this report, and we're going to go through all of it right now. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is what's happening with the stock right now. Already, we've seen continued run up leading up to earnings, huge expectations, a lot to do with the demand. We're going to cover that too. But, Thomas, let's look at the after hours trading in NVIDIA right now. The report just dropped just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
What's the stock already doing?
It looks like we're pulling back a little bit, which is not unusual. Nvidia tends to do that. The market was expecting very strong results. It got very strong results. So a little sell-off's not, unexpected. 2.5% is not a big deal. Right now, what I'm seeing is this market is just pulling back within its multi-week range, still above key moving averages, still above critical support levels. Looks like this bull market's still intact, as of right now.
Yeah, thanks to the viewers who are joining us today. I love the questions coming in the chat. A lot of people want to hear right away about is there a miss on China? Does China have an impact on these earnings that we're seeing right now?
I would say no, because right now there's no sales that have been made to China. They still outperform by several hundred basis points. The guidance is hot, also hot by several hundred basis points. And they clearly say that there was no sales of China were put into the equation. So they're not forecasting sales for China or sales to China in this guidance. So if we were to get sales to China added into the mix, the guidance would be improved. So no impact of China. Very strong guidance. Very good outlook.
Yeah, we want to talk about some other areas that might have been a hit or a miss. I think one area I want to talk about is just the overall demand for AI growth right now. I think a lot of what we saw this earnings season from the other Mag 7 stocks out there is that there is just more demand than even analysts were expecting in AI, that there's so much demand out there for the chips. What can you tell us about the demand for the chips right now?
Oh, well, as you say, all the results for the AI winners, AI leaders have been much stronger than expected, pointing to very robust demand throughout the AI system. Um, NVIDIA specifically, what we've heard most recently is from Wedbush, and their industry channel checks are showing 10 to 1 imbalance. That's in 10 people want to buy GPUs, and there's only one GPU available. That's a very, very bullish mix for NVIDIA. Really, the risk for them now is to not execute. If they're not able to ramp their production, that certainly leaves the door open for other GPU manufacturers such as AMD to come in and take share. But as it is right now, demand is hot, definitely driving this business, definitely underpins the guidance, certainly underpins an expectation for strength and outperformance to continue in the next couple of quarters at least.
Yeah, let's get right into what the analysts are saying too. Over the last couple of weeks, even just as recent as just a couple of days ago, those analyst upgrades of where they think this Nvidia stock price is headed have continually been those higher revisions. Go over some of those most recent changes.
Well, right, the trends are all very bullish for Nvidia with the analyst. Coverage is steady. We got 42 analysts covering the stock. That's a pretty solid amount. Shows broad-based support. Um, the sentiment is actually firming. There have been a few upgrades, so still a moderate buy, but a bullish bias to that moderate buy. But the really interesting fact is the price target revisions, as you've been saying. Upward revisions on the last few days, last few weeks, last few months, definitely leading this market higher. The consensus right now only forecasts about 7% upside, which is sufficient for a new high. But the revision trend is leading to the high end of the range, which is 225 to 250, which is a good 25 to 30% upside from where we are right now. Still pretty solid. Based on the chart price action, if we were to get a new high, to me, that would be a continuation signal that would indicate that the April to late August rally is really only halfway over.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of the questions coming in the chat right now, and that's about data centers. One question is, was there a miss on the data center side of NVIDIA for this quarter?
Um, I don't know what the consensus estimate was, but data center grew by 56%, which is a very strong showing, underpinned growth system wide. So to me, that's not a miss. That's very strong result. And within that, the networking up almost 100% just shows that companies are investing in the GPUs, but also in the infrastructure and the supportive technology to make those GPUs work.
Yeah, there's a lot of different demand for data centers right now. We're seeing that all over the place. And that's some of the other questions we're seeing from viewers right now is what does this mean for the rest of the market? That's why we do these lives when there's Nvidia earnings, because whatever happens in Nvidia's earnings right now, it's going to impact the rest of the market. So let's talk about other data center stocks first. Do you see this as a sign that there might be a slowdown in the data center sector? Do you think that there's going to be more growth for other companies like CoreWeave, like Applied Digital, who are those landlords for the data centers? What do we see happening for the rest of the market based off of Nvidia's report today?
Well, it looks like the data center industry is very strong and growing, and it's larger and stronger and growing more quickly than what we had anticipated. With the supply demand skewed the way it is, it looks like the data center industry could continue to grow robustly for several quarters because it will take more than just a small amount of time for NVIDIA to be able to ramp its production to meet that demand. So we're looking at, I don't know, possibly years of strong demand waiting for market normalization.
Market normalization, I think, is the question on everyone's mind. We've had such a bull run this whole quarter, this whole summer, really, on the AI tech stocks like Nvidia. Nvidia has been on a huge run up since that low back in April, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. But there is so many questions still about, is this sustainable? Is this going to level out at some time, or will we see even more pullbacks? Does this report give you any indication of the valuation is actually there to support how much of a run up this company has had over the last just few months?
This report to me does not align with slowdown, if anything. So yes, there is slowing because the company has gotten so big that it's not going to grow by 100% anymore. And so on a quarter to quarter and year to year basis, the growth will slow, but the dollar value of that growth will still be very robust. We're still looking at, a high double digit CAGR through the middle of the next decade. This report affirms that outlook and possibly suggests that it's too light. Um, so in this scenario, Nvidia is still trading at a deep discount to itself. Potentially could rise by 200 to 300% over the next decade, just based on these numbers. So, like as I'm saying, there's not really a sign of the market topping right now. It's still just kind of growing and riding on its momentum. And these demand numbers suggest that momentum is sustainable and it's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, we've seen so much growth, but I think the concern today with a lot of NVIDIA investors, we've been through this before. This isn't our first NVIDIA earnings report. And the last few, we've seen the stock do a little bit of what early indications are showing it's doing right now. And that's pulling back despite a strong report. Is that a strong potential that overnight we might see NVIDIA drop quite a bit? And if it does do that, that trend that it's done the past few quarters, is that a sign to buy right away? Let's talk about the potential of seeing this pullback even further over the next 24 to 48
Right.
hours.
I don't think so. I mean, who am I to say that it's not going to happen? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. The report was very strong to me. It certainly would trigger to me would trigger buying. It's definitely a buy signal. A pullback in the price action would be an opportunity to buy. Right now, it's down a little bit more than it was when we started, only but marginally. We're not even down 3%. Still above critical support levels, still above the 30-day moving average. So, I mean, yes, there is some pullback. Yes, some people are taking profits, but it looks like the market is right there buying those stocks when they're being offered. Um, if we get a deeper pullback tomorrow morning, I would expect to see it trigger even more robust buying. I do not expect to see this market reverse and start selling off deeply. There's really not anything in the report, the results, or the macro outlook right now to suggest that would happen. Um, if anything, right now, the macro outlook is it's kind of stabilizing and maybe even improving. I think that we've reached the peak of tariff fears. We've kind of reached the peak of um, the China and technology sales fears. From here on out, I think we're only going to be getting better, which ultimately will provide tailwinds for this market.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of catalysts coming for NVIDIA in the future. I love one of the comments that came in about the 3-day rule with NVIDIA, especially after earnings. Do you think that there's some truth to that, Thomas, of wait 3 days and wait for that volatility post earnings to see where this stock is actually going to level out at? And maybe part of that is maybe that's a good entry point because we might have a few days where the stock drops simply because of people gearing up for that. I don't know if there's maybe this expectation in the market that Nvidia is just going to pull back on an earnings season because that's what happened. So you see all of this lead up. I'm just curious to see
All right.
what could be the game plan be for investors who really see this report, say, I see this company having a lot of demand. They're going to continue to do well. I want to add more to my portfolio, but when's the best time to add?
Well, right. So this is one of those markets where everybody might be waiting for a pullback. And in the stock market, when everybody's waiting for something to happen, it usually doesn't happen. Um, So, I mean, yes, there could be one, but again, I'm not really seeing very many signs in the technicals or in the results and the macroeconomic conditions to think that one's going to come. Um, right now, what I'm seeing is this market potentially moving sideways. Uh, but again, these results are pretty solid. I would not be surprised to see analysts lifting targets, as soon as tomorrow morning, which would be a bullish catalyst. So I don't want to chase this market because it's pretty extended. But again, if you want to get into it, waiting for a pullback could leave you waiting for a long time.
It's true. And I think pullback needs to be a relative term with NVIDIA right now. I don't think you're going to see a huge pullback. It would be shocking to see this go much below 150. Even less than that would be a really big pullback for this company. I think if you
Yeah.
see a pullback, Thomas, you would know better than myself, but I couldn't expect to see much more than 10% at most. What are your thoughts on what a pullback looks like for
Well,
NVIDIA?
right. So right now, I'd be kind of surprised to see it go below 175. That's not very far. That's right near the bottom of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 week trading range. Just last week, the market tried to sell off, tried to move below that level, move below the 6-day moving average, move below 175, and then it bounced right back. So what I'm seeing right now is some pretty solid support at these high levels, support rising with the market. A lot of convergences in the market, in the indicators, shows a lot of strength in this rally. Um, so to me, the signs are saying this market's going higher. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's a good point with NVIDIA too. I'll take some more questions from anybody in the chat if you've got some questions. I want to go off on another little tangent of just the demand for NVIDIA. We are already seeing so much demand, that so much so that NVIDIA can't quite keep up with all of the demand for their chips right now. But then there's another potential catalyst for even more demand coming over the next couple of quarters. It might be more into next year, rather even yet this year in the next couple of quarterly reports. But that's the increased development of robots. And we've had a couple of videos on the channel. I just did another interview today of a new video that's coming out tomorrow, all talking about the increased kind of second wave of AI being robots and putting AI into a physical body of some kind. And every piece of robotic machinery out there, all of those would have NVIDIA chips. Do you see this sector taking off enough to really start to show up soon, even yet this year, in NVIDIA's earnings report?
I do. Nvidia, like with all of this technology, is really taken a full stack approach to robotics. It's got quite a few developers working on its platforms. Um, Certainly enough that we can expect to see some advancements from the Nvidia vector with robotics. They're leaning very hard into it. Um, as you were saying, physical AI is really the next revolution, next generation of AI. Right now, we're building the models and we're trying to learn the applications, but soon we'll be able to take these advanced AI algorithms and put them into the edge, put them into these devices, into these robots where they're able to function autonomously. And NVIDIA will certainly be a leader in that regard. Um,
Yeah, I see that happening too, with these new developments and things like that. Another question I have on Nvidia before we get into a little bit more on this earnings report and what it means for some of the rest of the market. That's a lot of the questions we're getting is what does this mean for other stocks? What are other stocks doing post earnings release this evening and aftermarket? So we'll get to some of those in a minute. But I first want to talk about what could some of these rate cut discussions going on, the economic picture due to Nvidia? Is Nvidia a big enough giant that the different decisions, will a rate cut have any impact on Nvidia's business in the future of this company?
um, yes, I think it would have a pretty large impact on the company, not because NVIDIA is so rate sensitive. It's really not very rate sensitive, but because of such robust demand and its central position in AI and technology right now. So a rate cut, even a slim one, which is what I expect, I'm not really expecting the Fed to be very aggressive. If we get 25 basis points by the end of the year, I think that that would be a little surprising to me. Um, but back to NVIDIA, anything that reduces pressure on businesses globally will help NVIDIA, because when pressure is reduced on businesses, they'll be able to free up some capital for their tech spending. And we've seen across the tech universe that spending on AI is driving results. So I would expect to see any freed up capital in the system, at least some of it getting turned towards NVIDIA and driving some more of that demand.
Yeah, that all makes sense too. I do want to share really quick for those watching right now. We are live. We are going to be joining that earnings call live to hear from NVIDIA CEO. I know everybody is waiting to hear what might be said there. So, Thomas, let's just talk really quick about what you think that could come out in this earnings call that the market's going to be watching and paying attention to the most.
Well, let's see. I think some of the top comments will be about Blackwell demand, production and onshoring, China, and whatever they're doing, trying to get new, more advanced chips to China to try to recapture some of that share. And then updates on the upcoming Rubin. We're expecting that to launch next year, and that's the next generation of AI chips, really AI specific chips, really high powered AI specific chips that really will or are supposed to supercharge model training and what the models are able to do. So really could usher in another wave of the AI revolution just with this upgrade in technology.
Yeah, there's a lot weighing on this call, and I want to talk about the company CEO too. Do you think that there's anything that he's been making headlines for in the last couple of weeks that have investors excited about what's yet to come?
I mean, nothing new has popped up that I've seen, not since the conversations in China and with President Trump. But those seem to have gone well because, you know, chip business is still available in China, and now we're just trying to work out the details to capture it. Um, so, really, to me, that'll be one of the big catalysts moving forward. It might take a little while for that to gain some traction and for them to actually be able to follow through with new sales in China. But once they do, that'll add billions back into the annual revenue outlook.
Really good thoughts on Nvidia. I think we've asked a lot about Nvidia now, and other people in the chat, they want to hear more about some of the other stocks that could be impacted or implicated in this earnings report. One of the first ones asked about is CrowdStrike and Palantir. Do you think that these are tied into Nvidia's earnings report in any way today, and we could see some moves in either of these companies or other companies after seeing what has come out in this report?
Um, I mean, yeah, they're both part of the AI story, but I don't see them tied to Nvidia real specifically. Uh, CrowdStrike is awesome because of its position with cybersecurity. It's been a leading player for quite a long time. It's been growing at a very robust pace. Right now, it's down 7% in the post market. So I'm wondering if any news came out. They're also supposed to report earnings this week. It might have been today. Let's see this. CrowdStrike. Right. So they missed. CrowdStrike missed. And that's surprising because other cybersecurity stocks have been reporting beats and raises. So that's not really good news for CrowdStrike. I'm going to want to dig into that one some more tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a really good point to bring up. Thanks for that question, everyone.
All
Let's talk
right.
about Palantir. How are NVIDIA and Palantir connected, if at all? And do you see any moves happening in NVIDIA this week also impacting Palantir this week?
Right. Looks like Palantir hit a top 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's been pulling back. Right now, it's down about 1.5% in the post market. Could be some Nvidia reaction. But again, like Palantir isn't representative of Nvidia demand, and Nvidia and Palantir are pretty different in their business models. Palantir's business is definitely being supported by growth of its business, commercial and government business and its profitability. But in this chart, maybe it pulls back a little bit more, but it looks like support for Palantir is pretty solid above 140. You get a bounce from 140, be a good time to maybe buy a little bit, but be wary of the 180 level because that looks like it could be pretty firm resistance until we get some more good news or another catalyst to move the market.
Yeah. I think that that's a good point made by another person in the chat right now about if you follow NVIDIA earnings, you know that it's going to pull back. And that's what everybody's watching right now is this post market close dip that it's happening right now. And this is almost
Right.
expected now. Like we just talked about earlier, this continually happens where we see this market pull back even on a really strong report. How soon could we see a turnaround if this pullback continues all overnight and into the market tomorrow?
You mean like as far as like a reversal, like a big sell-off?
Like a
I
little bit
mean,
of a pullback for Nvidia itself, not Palantir, but just even the rest of the market too. Whenever we see this
yeah.
post Nvidia earnings pullback happen, even on a strong earnings report, it seems like the rest of the market's also impacted. What should investors expect for the rest of this week if we happen to see this volatility over the next 48 hours?
Right. Um, I mean, I think if the market starts selling off more than a little bit, something else besides Nvidia is going to be moving it. As I've been saying, nothing in this report makes me think Nvidia is going to be selling off very strongly. If we get more than 3 or 5%, I'll be very, very surprised. Um, the S&P 500 chart looks pretty bullish right now. I don't think that it's going to be pulling back very significantly. If it does, I mean, it ain't going to be very far.
I
There's
think
good support. I mean, good support right up underneath it. All the indicators are convergent. This market looks pretty strong to me. I'm really not expecting a big pullback in Nvidia or in the S&P 500.
Well, we hope that's right, Thomas. That's what everybody's looking to hear for sure. Let's talk about some of the other big players that go with NVIDIA and all of this demand that we're seeing for AI and the chips that they make. And that is, we need the power to power these things. I think there's been a lot of discussion over this past week leading up to today's report talking about nuclear. And I know we've talked about several other nuclear stocks out there. They've all kind of struggled recently. SMR, NewScale, and then I think we talked about Oklo too. I don't think their
Right.
charts have been doing as well correlating with what Nvidia has been doing over the past few weeks and months.
No, I don't think those charts are correlated at all. The nuclear stocks, they're being driven by data center demand, which is tied to AI. They're kind of, you know, you know, call it tangential to each other, I guess. But for Oklo, this stock is rising on the advancement of its technology, the potential that it brings to the nuclear market, uh, the clearing of red tape by the Trump administration, and the advancing of its pipeline. It's got an established pipeline. We're looking for this company to start making revenue within the next couple of years and to be profitable almost immediately afterwards. Um, the last earnings results were a little bit weaker than expected, but we weren't expecting very much. The market did pull back, but it immediately confirmed support. Okla was a much better looking chart than NewScale's chart is. NewScale actually corrected down to a very deep level. Okla just pulled back a little bit, but it's really just trending sideways. To me, this chart is forming a nice little, bullish flag pattern that if we got some good news could spark another rally in this name and get it up above $80, $85 probably pretty quickly.
That's a really good analysis of what's happening in Oklo. I do want to show viewers really quick. We are waiting and seeing when this conference call is going to start. It's supposed to start right at 5 Eastern. So I've got a watch on for that. We're going to join the call live just to hear what he has to say. I want to address some of the questions coming in the chat too. Some really interesting one from Venkat saying, yesterday we saw a huge run up in Nvidia and the QQQ as well doing really well. The SPY also went up yesterday. Is it possible that the big earnings boost you and many other people were expecting today maybe happened yesterday and now we're seeing something different happen in the market?
Well, right. So yesterday, the last couple of days were just people buying into this name, expecting a good solid report. Now we've got a little bit of profit taking, and you can't blame the market for this. It's up since April, so 90 to 180. It's up 100% just since April. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy for people not to be taking profits in this name. But as I've been saying, the sell-off is not very strong. I do not expect to see it get much deeper than it is. I'm looking at pretty good solid support in the 170 to 175 region. I would definitely expect to see a bounce above that level. If for whatever reason the market were to fall below there, if it doesn't bounce back real quick, there is a risk of a deeper sell-off. But again, there's just not any reason to expect the market to be moving lower with these results and this outlook. The cash flow, the cash balance, the outlook for growth, only reasons to expect it to move higher.
Yeah, I think there's another point about Nvidia that it's hard to ignore, and that's how much cash this company is making. I know it's not the same kind of explosive income that we've seen investors expect over the past 5 years of this company if they had just incredible results. But there's still so much cash coming into this company. The cash flow is crazy.
Well, right. So the cash balance grew by 64% year over year in this quarter. $56 billion. That's more than 1/4 of revenue worth of cash. The company is net cash versus its total liability. I mean, it is in such a rock solid cash position that it's surprising that it hasn't already began boosting its capital returns. The way that the outlook is right now, this cash pile is only going to continue growing. I mean, the way it looks right now, next year at this time, the cash balance will probably be over $110 billion. That's huge. It's huge. So I'm really looking for this company to start aggressively buying back shares, making their dividend more substantial, or embarking on an aggressive dividend increase cycle, or putting out a special dividend. Companies like Costco, also totally different, but makes tons of cash, builds up that cash, and every 2 or 3 years gives its investors a really big, huge special dividend. Totally possible with Nvidia. One of these things is going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that there's good dividend potential for this company just because they do so well. I do want to share something that's coming up here on our channel tomorrow for the first time ever. There's a couple of questions about some of the options plays happening on Nvidia right now and the trends in that market. Well, coming up tomorrow, first time ever, we are going to have a different look at different guests on. These are our guests from Trading Pub, Graham and Nate. are literally talking about the top trades of the week, but they are in the market every day talking to their viewers every single day about the top trades of the day. Well, we're going to do a top trades of the week live stream starting tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern. I hope you can join us for that live stream tomorrow too. It's going to be a lot different than what we normally talk about. I know when Chris or Thomas are on here live, we talk a lot about kind of the long-term impacts. Well, they are going to have those trades, options plays, calls, all the different things that you want to know about. They have the top trades of the week. So join us tomorrow at 12:30 for that one. Thomas, just a couple more points to finish up before we join this call live, which should be any minute now. What are you excited about in this call coming up? We'll finish that way and then hopefully join this call live.
Well, so updates on sales to China, because again, that'll be billions of dollars of revenue added to the outlook. Any news about Blackwell demand that kind of affirms these things that we've been hearing from the analysts. See the cash, talked about that. And then updates about Rubin. Rubin will be the next iteration. We're expecting it to come out, next year sometime. So we want to hear that timeline is progressing the way that it's supposed to be, and that whatever they can say about, to foreshadow the demand outlook.
Good. Well, Thomas, thank you for your time. I'm going to stay with our viewers right now. If you want to stay on and listen to the conference call, we're going to join it right now and see what they have to say. Thomas, thank you for your time and your analysis on Nvidia. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let's tune in to this conference call right now.
All right. You're welcome. See you next time.